Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, I want to talk about something that, anyone who's thinking about getting into testing, whether it's software testing, game testing, any other type of testing, quality assurance specifically, this video is for them. Is QA really worth it? And I've thought about this for a very long time. Well, since I started working in QA almost 13 years ago. And yes and no. Let me explain. So I've worked in QA for almost 13 years. I've worked for very large corporations, some of the biggest companies and brands in the world. I've worked for some of the smallest companies and brands in the world. Everything from games QA to software as a service to music apps, websites. I've done a lot of QAing or testing in general. So in my experience, there's been a lot of ups and downs in terms of QA. Now this is dependent on the team you're working on, the other teams you're working with, the company you're working at, the processes that are put in place, and the level of support that you get as someone working in QA. So let's talk about why QA is actually worth it. For me, as someone who wasn't originally planning to get into QA, I started out working in security for almost 8 years, and I wanted to do something different. I was working as a security guard at a very big company, and the pay was okay for what I was doing compared to other companies and locations where they had security. So I was content at the time. I was fine. I was comfortable. There were a few other perks here and there, but yeah, I had just settled pretty much. And it wasn't until someone told me, hey man, you're too talented, you're too smart, you need to get the hell out of here. It wasn't until then that I realized that I could probably look into doing something else. Now, I was in my late 20s, and I really was scared to try to start something new, especially with no experience. But fortunately, QA is one of those roles where you can start off with no experience. You can get training, you can work in other teams and in companies where they can teach you different things, the lingo, the processes, the tools, and you learn over time how to actually test in different ways. And for me, when I got my first QA role, I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm working for one of the biggest companies in the world, and the pay was okay. I mean, I took a little pay decrease going from what I was doing before, working security, to an entry-level role in QA. And that was back in 2013. I can't remember things. Yeah, 2013. So I got my first role. It was contract, and I worked on a very large QA team. And we tested things from iOS and Android apps to BlackBerry OS apps, Windows apps, LG TV apps. All of these were games, by the way. So they all are in different platforms. The team that I was working on specifically, they supported all of the projects and on every platform. Whereas all of the other teams were either iOS and Android, we did everything. So it was a great learning experience in terms of learning the different platforms, the file types and all that stuff, the processes for certification for different platforms. Like I said, all that stuff you'll start to learn in your first QA role. They're not going to expect entry-level QA people, especially in the games industry, to have all this knowledge and experience. I mean, if you've played games and you've been able to spot bugs, like visual bugs or performance issues, or seen crashes and know that none of that stuff is normal, then you have a good entry point into what QA does. And for me, working at that company was good because they had some good perks, but the pay wasn't that great. Like I mentioned, I took a pay decrease. And I wasn't a full-time employee. That's the unfortunate part. I was contracted by a recruiting service, so I was only supposed to be there for a certain amount of time, but I left early, found another role, paid a little bit more, got a better title. But unfortunately, after 2 months, they let everyone in QA go. That is one of the downsides to QA. QA is one of the first departments to get eliminated, whether it's the entire department or it's a certain, head count from that department. It's very unfortunate because I feel like QA early on in my career, QA didn't get as much respect as any other department or discipline. Throughout my career, I gained more respect and seniority and, became a leader in quality assurance and everything. But now it's like, over the years, I've seen certain things happen. I've seen some of that lack of respect come back. And it's unfortunate because it's not all tied to QA. It's tied to like people having their little work cliques and all that stupid stuff. And, people who have been at a company for much longer than you trying to tell you this is how this is supposed to be done, or this is how we do things here, instead of being willing to accept process change and just hear out new ideas from people that are joining the team. So yeah, it's the pros and cons. I think I don't want to say they're even, because again, QA is an entryway into becoming a leader in the testing space or moving over to another discipline. So, another positive of QA is, for me, I had so much experience in QA as a leader, working as a lead QA engineer and test lead and senior test lead, that I eventually was able to move over to a production role, given the circumstances were a little different. But I worked in production for about 7 or 8 months. And I understood things already, having worked with various directors, producers, product managers, product owners, scrum masters. I understood a lot of things from working with those people already at different companies. So going into it, I had a good handle on things. And, having worked in games and tech for over a decade, I understood all of the different types of tools and processes and ways to communicate to people that would be beneficial for, someone who was working in QA to move to something else. And that is another reason why QA is actually worth it, is having so much knowledge and experience working in QA, understanding the product and the different ways to do things and communicate will help you move to other disciplines if you want to. You can also stay in QA and gain more experience and become a leader and or people manager in QA. So, for me, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to become more of a people manager, and unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I was a lead and I led teams and I worked with engineers, analysts, testers, automation engineers, SDETs, but I never actually became a people manager. It just wasn't in the cards. So even with my experience as a lead at different companies, I wouldn't mind being a lead again, a lead or a manager, where I can oversee things, but also get hands-on with stuff. That's what I prefer. For a lot of people who are getting into QA or want to get into QA or are questioning, is it even worth it? I say it depends, because QA is an entryway into several different industries, whether it's healthcare, gaming, tech, or other industries. And you can learn different types of testing: gray box testing, black box testing, performance testing, automation testing. There's various different types of testing that you can learn depending on your role and what's needed at your current company and where the company wants to go in the future in terms of quality. What they want to do for the product as a whole in terms of making sure that quality is at the forefront of the product or products they're releasing. So for me, I think the pros outweigh the cons. Just because I've had a different experience, working with various disciplines in different industries, moving up several times over the years, and working with some great QA teams. I think that's the biggest thing for me. That's one of the biggest pros, is working with great QA teams. Very, very like-minded people who care about quality and want to see the product do well, and understand that, a customer or a player or whoever the consumer is of the product is going to play or use a product in different ways. Not everyone's the same. Not everyone's going to understand how to interact in the same way immediately. So QA, and working in different QA teams has been great for me to get different perspectives on things and understand that, I may be missing something that someone else might have thought of in terms of something that needed to be tested or brought up to production or mentioned during a retrospective or whatever it may be. For me, I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons. Now, going back to the cons, the only one I've mentioned so far is just a lack of respect, which is a huge one because, as someone who's been working in QA for almost 13 years now, I've seen it at many places. It's not until you get to a senior or leadership or management position where you start to see more respect. But even then, sometimes it just seems like some companies don't value QA as much as they should. And it's unfortunate. But one of the other downsides or cons to QA, I think now, is the fact that everything's going straight towards AI. Now, I've used AI at one company to do things like write test cases, come up with test plans, and get data for certain things, but it wasn't at the point where it made a huge impact. There was no real benefit to it at the time. So yeah, I think the problem with QA and AI is the fact that a lot of companies are using AI to replace QA. It's kind of similar to automation testing versus manual testing. You can automate a lot of things. You can't automate every single thing depending on the product. Some products require manual validation of things, and automation has made it so that companies don't want to hire manual testers or people like myself with only manual testing experience, but understand things like, GitHub and Selenium and other things like that. Even if I don't have automation experience myself, but I understand how it works. It's just companies want to move towards an easier way to validate things, a faster way to validate things, and to cut head costs and increase revenue. It's the thing with every company. It's not just QA, but QA is heavily affected by automation and AI. And at the rate things are going, anyone who's looking to get into QA needs to learn AI in terms of the different types of AI being used, what it's being used for, how to use it to benefit QA and the quality of whatever they're testing, improve processes. There's so many benefits to AI, but the downside is AI has caused a number of reductions in terms of headcount at companies across the globe. So I think that's one of the downsides to working in QA is a lot of companies are starting to replace QA testers with AI and automation. Now, you can kind of get around that if you want to learn automation and the different frameworks and the tools required to perform automated testing and learn AI to stay ahead of the curve. Well, I guess not anymore because AI is evolving so rapidly and every company is pretty much using AI in some fashion. So I would say in terms of just keeping up, it would be beneficial to learn automation testing and AI for quality assurance. Now, some companies, much smaller companies that are just looking for their first QA tester or putting together their first QA team may not want all that stuff, and that's good. The company I'm working for right now under a contract, there is no automated testing in relation to the QA team. We do manual testing, we work with a third-party external team as well, and I think for what we're doing right now, automation testing doesn't make sense, but it's not my call. That's up to management and whoever else wants to get involved in terms of the future of QA for that team. But not every company is going to use AI for testing or automation testing. Some companies just want to, have hands-on with things and verify things from a user's perspective and not just go through the checkboxes to validate stuff. So I think AI and automation are like the only downsides to working in QA. A lot of companies are leaning more towards those things. But like I said, some companies aren't, particularly the smaller companies that want a more hands-on feel and hire people that understand the mindset of a regular consumer or player, whatever it may be, depending on the industry they're in. Now, overall, for me at least, I think QA is worth it. It's been worth it for me. I've been so privileged to have the career in QA that I've had over the past almost 13 years. And, I do want to continue working in QA. I also want to move to production, but I'm very happy staying in QA. I think for me, and this is not just a QA thing, this is like every industry thing, pretty much, job security. I right now don't have job security because I'm on a contract. When I was at my previous company, I thought I had job security and I was a full-time salaried employee, but I got laid off. And then the company before that, I left on my own accord, but they had 3 layoffs between the time the company was bought and after I left. So it just seems like job security is not a real thing, unfortunately, no matter if you're a contracted worker or if you're a salaried employee. And it's unfortunate, but I think the thing that I'm looking for is a place to stay, for as long as I can. Like I don't want to hop around to different companies. That's just not my thing, unless I absolutely have to. And, as I've explained in the previous video, I've been through 4 layoffs. I was laid off 4 times over the past almost 13 years. So this was from contracted roles, surprisingly, and full-time salary roles. And every time sucks. But depending on the economy and the job market, sometimes are worse than others. And this last time was it was easily the worst layoff I've ever experienced. So, for anyone who's looking to get into QA now, I think it would be to your benefit, as I mentioned earlier, to learn different AI tools, how they can help with the different QA processes, from creating test cases to writing test plans to putting together incident reports, and starting to learn automation early. Even if you apply to a job and you get a job where they don't have immediate plans to automate test cases and create scripts for things like Selenium and other tools, it would be your benefit to start learning those things. And then, maybe in the future, if you're still at that same company, bring up the idea of automation and working with engineers to create unit tests for their work and then automate different tasks and create automation schedules that run every so often, but also still have the things that absolutely have to be tested by you. Because even if you learn automation, you're still gonna have to test some things manually. You're gonna have to update scripts regularly if your code breaks or if an engineer breaks your code somehow. It happens. I've seen it happen. So anyone who's getting into QA now, learn the different types of testing, start looking into automation and the different tools and frameworks, and also start looking into AI and how that can benefit you in your QA career. Now, like I said, there are pros and cons to QA. For me, like I mentioned earlier, the pros outweigh the cons, but that might be different for other people. I've experienced so many things over the past almost 13 years in QA that I kind of built a stronger shell in relation to communicating with people and dealing with certain situations. And, I think I'm a better person for it, not just working at a company or just working in QA, but in general. I've learned a lot of lessons, or a lot of different things in relation to just the real world. So I think QA is worth it. I'm just gonna say that. I think QA is still worth it. But again, I'm someone who's worked in QA for almost 13 years. I have a lot of experience. I also have production experience. So for me, it's a little bit different. It may not be the same for you or other people, but now that times are different and automation and AI are heavily impacting the role of QA and people getting into the field, it's important to learn those things and take them seriously, because they're just going to keep evolving and getting better and better. Yeah, that's it. I think if you want to look at some QA resources, I'll leave some in the description of this video. But yeah, I think the 2 things are going to be AI and automation in terms of anyone coming out of college or someone who's looking to switch careers or someone who's looking for their first job. It's important to just learn these things. You don't have to be an expert, but you have to have a basic understanding of how AI and automation can be used to improve quality. And that's it. I'll catch you guys later.